I want to show the Wi-Fi Interactive. We have a heat map of the defense stocks year to date, and there's a lot of green on that screen, from GE in the upper left up 87%, RTX up 60%, et cetera. Lockheed Martin only breaking even there, but that is the exception. One of the things I noticed this year, Tony, was in the post-Liberation Day sell-off, these stocks did very well. They arguably held up a lot better than some of the rest. So that was something I noticed this year. What are the factors that we need to think about going into next year, 2026?
Yeah, great to be with you, Jared. I agree. I mean, a lot of those on the heat map were in our Gabelli GCAD ETF, commercial aerospace and defense ETF this year. So we saw a lot of good things. I think coming up in 26 is probably going to be relatively more of the same. I mean, we saw the news over the weekend with Ukraine trying to have a referendum on the land, and then also yesterday with China doing embargo exercises. I just think there's going to still be a lot of instability globally, and the defense budgets are up globally. NATO, of course, is at 2%, going up to 3.5%. The U.S. is at $1 trillion for 26, and it's likely going to continue. So you're going to see probably some more of the same into 2026 and beyond.
And with all the talk of AI, and sometimes that's all we can talk about, that's naturally the source of my next question, or the subject. How big a factor is this in some of the stocks that we're talking about here? Some companies have been quick to adopt, others slowly. How does this play into aerospace and defense?
Yeah, I think the reality is AI, has a lot of its foundations in aerospace and defense. I mean, all the way back to a simple AI tool, which is an autopilot system. That's all the way back to 1912. You could sort of call that a closed loop feedback system. So AI has been playing a large part in aerospace for actually a very long time. Now, you may be talking about modern AI, what you're talking about with companies like Palantir and the defense techs, Andurils. You're probably going to still see more of the same. Any way you can automate, optimize, have autonomous systems that don't need a person involved when it doesn't need to be at lower level decision making, you're probably going to see more of that. And the companies that we like are all participants in that area.
Yeah, you don't want to not mention AI on the telephone call sometimes, especially with the analysts. I want to talk to you about M&A, mergers and acquisitions. The cost of money is getting cheaper. The Fed is lowering interest rates. What are the prospects for this M&A season in Q1? Just bring it out through the whole year into the end of 2026.
Yeah, it's bifurcated. You've got one end of the spectrum, obviously, as you noted, the aerospace and defense industry has run up quite a bit in 2025. So you have high multiples. But on the other end, you still have the laggards that are really good businesses, high barriers to entry, sole source programs. They're ripe for the picking. And companies in our portfolio, in our GCAD portfolio, companies like we believe this company called Albany International, which has two businesses, a strong aerospace and defense business, and they've got a industrial business, which the two don't really make sense to be together. We think those could have some type of financial engineering and M&A involved in it, over the next 12 to 18 to maybe a little further out. But there's definitely companies that have not participated in the run up like the rest that are likely going to have some M&A going on this year and next.
And talk to us about emerging technologies. There's a lot going on in that field, from laser weapons, electronic attack aircraft, et cetera. And you have this alongside this movement where we are going into space and we are also weaponizing, for better or for worse. So talk to us about some of those new technologies and some of the opportunities there.
Yeah, you saw what happened in Ukraine over the last four plus years. And obviously what's happening in Israel, Gaza, just inundation of drones. You're going to need drones, of course, but you're also going to need drone defense. And there's only so many, missiles that an aircraft or a ship or any drone system is going to have. So you're going to see a lot of you'll see a lot of drone defense, either through electromagnetic spectrum, lasers, you name it, whatever Buck Rogers or that you see out there, you're probably going to see that coming, and it's going on right now. It's on the weapon systems right now. You obviously saw Israel, just essentially put out their first Iron Beam for drone defense, and there's going to be probably a lot more of that, especially in. You'll see things in like GPS denied environments. You're going to need other forms of navigation. People use magnetic navigation in order to get around, skirting around. If you're in a GPS denied environment, you're able to, still navigate, in launch aircraft and weapon systems from that. So you're going to see a lot of cool stuff coming up, and it already has, of course.
All right, so we got the Buck Rogers trade that investors should be watching out for. Anything else? This is the final question here. So what should investors be looking for in 2026?
Yeah, I think the reality is you're going to see defense techs are likely going to continue to do well. I mean, we've seen discussions of Anduril, SpaceX doing IPOs this year. And I think just, more of the same of on the essentially the maintenance side, maintenance services, and then of course the big one I think that everyone is very keenly aware of is the weapon systems, missiles, rockets, munitions. You heard in the first year of the war in Ukraine, 7 years of munition production on HIMARS, Javelin, Stinger were expended in 1 year. You've heard in Israel, they've launched, in certain months, they've launched 100 Patriots in a month. And, our stock is not far above that. So there's going to be a lot more doubling, quadrupling of weapon system production in 2026 and probably beyond.
All right, got to leave it there. Really appreciate your insights here, Tony. Thank you.